Hi everybody, it's Allie from Padfoot Palms, Poodles and Pals, and I wanted to make this video to try to explain a few things. I get a lot of questions and I get a lot of pushback on the topic of DCM and pet food and pet products. So I wanted to do kind of a follow-up video to my original video, which I put out quite some time ago when it really started to become something that pet parents were concerned about. So what I'd like to do is bring you in a little bit closer here and just have a very real chat with you. So if you are new, my name is Allie. I'm a canine nutritionist. I have a YouTube channel and I also have a large Facebook group. In that Facebook group, I have a recommended food list that I maintain with the help of my awesome moderator team. And we work diligently to make sure that the foods that are on that list are up to date the best that we can. So we are constantly updating the list. We're either adding new foods to it, taking foods off of it, right? If there was some kind of problem with a food or a recall or something like that. And there are documents in the file section of my group that kind of show you the criteria for choosing a food. There are also files in my group with complete and balanced recipes if you decide that you want to go with a home-cooked food or a DIY raw. That way you can ensure that as you're starting out on your nutritional journey, that your dog is getting everything that they need, whether they're a puppy or an adult. We have both. So I just wanted to start out by saying that, just to kind of cover anybody who's coming across this video who is new, who doesn't know who I am. Now, let's talk about DCM. I get a lot of comments. I get a lot of people sending me messages with articles and, various research papers and all sorts of things, because I have a very specific stance on DCM and foods that contain legumes or potatoes. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. The reason why this whole DCM crisis started was because the FDA came out with this thing and yada yada, and I go in depth about that in the first video. Now we are seeing this trend where time has passed, research is starting to come out. Now it's being thrown around that the entirety of the whole claim that legumes and potatoes could potentially be causing DCM, which is a heart condition. Now people are saying, oh, well, this is just a gimmick. This was just, a marketing ploy. This was just a means for companies to attack each other and hurt the other one's business. So, while I understand that people who are just reading articles that are being put out there and who are not privy to, the veterinary nutritional symposiums and webinars and various classes, all throughout the year, those people may not be aware that the research is not completed. And this is where I struggle with people, because I feel like in the world that we live in today, everything is very instant, right? We want instant gratification. We want to buy that puppy now. We want to read an article and immediately make a decision about, is this good or is this bad? We want our TikToks, right? We want our things that happen. We want our YouTube videos to be, 30 seconds long. Like, that is fine and all and well and good for certain things. But nothing in the pet food industry happens quickly. Nothing. From making changes to nutritional research studies to recalls, right? And getting food off the shelf, none of that happens quickly. Mostly because we don't treat our pets with the same kind of urgency and care that we do with humans, right? If there was a recall on a human thing, right? When there's recalls on lettuce because of a salmonella risk, then, everybody panics and it gets pulled from the shelf. I digress. So you have to understand that nothing happens quickly. What we have been peppered with over the last few years is articles here, conspiracy theories here, marketing here, pet foods companies trying to find a workaround to a potential issue. For example, adding taurine to foods that previously they didn't add taurine to, right? Changing their ingredients, changing their packaging, all to try to escape this whole DCM scare, right? So in the midst of us being peppered with all of this material, a little bit here, a little bit there, people send me articles, they send all this information to me and they say, hey, Allie, here you go. It's been debunked. You can stop recommending that people avoid legumes and potatoes. It's okay. Look, this article says so. And while I appreciate that those people are well-meaning and they have the best intentions and they're just trying to help, they don't have all of the information. Just like I don't have all of the information. But the difference between those people and me is I am a public figure. I have thousands of people who are relying on me to do the research, to fact check, to sit through, 20 plus hours of veterinary seminars in a week, on top of my full-time job, mind you. They are relying on me to pick apart and find out, okay, yes, this is a partial study that covers part of what's happening. Who funded this study? What conclusions did they come to? How thorough were they when using, the scientific method? Is this unbiased? Is this biased? Is it biased, but the information is still valuable? I have to do all of those things. And it's one of the reasons why I appreciate when people send me, right, whatever it is that they find online, because I read every bit of it. And even those individuals who have sent me information who are very well versed in canine nutrition, right? We have even had conversations about, hey, they don't think that this was ever really a thing. They think this is a sham, right? And I can say, hey, I absolutely appreciate that that's where you're coming from. And you are entitled to that opinion. If you want to read that article and formulate an opinion, I respect it. I absolutely respect it. But it doesn't change my opinion. And here's why. I don't recommend legumes, potatoes of any kind. Yes, that includes green beans. Yes, that includes sweet potatoes, for more reasons than just this DCM issue. We have pet food companies who are using these legumes to boost the protein levels in the food. Now, nutritionally speaking, I can tell you from making hundreds and hundreds of recipes that sometimes, especially if you are working with certain parameters of a recipe, it can be challenging to make sure that that protein level is high enough, but also balanced with everything else that you're feeding, or in the case of commercial products that you're including in your food. So what they've done is they've used the legumes and potatoes as a means of cutting corners, just like those companies that use corn, right? Corn, wheat, soy, all of those things have protein. And they use them to bump up the protein in the food. They have other uses as well. I'm just saying mainly. The problem is, under no circumstances does your dog need to eat a food that contains almost no meat products and only has things like corn, wheat, soy, legumes, potatoes. That world doesn't exist. The only exception being a dog that is diagnosed with severe allergies, both by a veterinarian and in working with a canine nutritionist, and it is found that that is the only diet that they can eat. That is like 1 in a million. So that scenario does not apply to everyone else, right? It doesn't apply to the average consumer and their pet. So couple that on top of the risks that are involved with the lectins in these foods, possibly causing a taurine absorption issue, right? That may or may not be mitigated by adding taurine to the food, or if someone was to supplement taurine, which I don't recommend that you do unless under the supervision of your vet, by the way. So there's more than just this DCM issue, but here's the part that people don't understand about the DCM issue and me. I used to work for numerous pet food companies. I have a very unique understanding of what is important to them. Spoiler alert, it's not the health and well-being of your dog, okay? It's money, okay? It's a business. So because I have that perspective, because I see the trends over time, right? And it's funny because the trends in pet food tend to mirror and come in a wave after trends in human diets. For example, keto, right? Huge spike in keto in the human diet industry. And then what do we see in the pet food industry? We see a bunch of, new marketing about keto diets, right? So I see the trends and I see them long term. And part of the challenge that I have is that I can't just make a split decision after reading a few articles and a research paper and say, okay, yes, this is good and this is bad. Or this is okay to feed and this is not. Or this much of this thing is good, but this much of it is too much, right? Because that information is not available yet. Like I said earlier, nothing in the pet food industry happens quickly. It's going to be another 5 to 10 years before we start getting solid information. And even then, I will have to research it, fact check it, look to see if it's biased, who's doing the study, right? All of these things. So while I understand that people have good intentions when they bring me these articles and say, look, you can tell everybody that this stuff's okay to feed now. What they don't understand is that I hold myself to a much higher standard, because I'm not just making an evaluation based on what's okay to feed my dogs. I'm making an evaluation, formulating an opinion, and then making a recommendation to thousands of people who are relying on me to get it right. Now, hopefully that sinks in and you understand. I want you to imagine that you're in that position. You have all of these people relying on you, and you don't have enough information to be able to make an educated decision. So, what do? You fall back on what you know. I know that pet food companies screw stuff up left, right, middle, front, and back on a regular basis, most of which the average consumer is not even aware of, because they're not required to report it. Just like they can change their ingredients and not say a word if they don't want to, right? There's no rule being broken there, but it'll give your dog some really gnarly diarrhea. So my point is that I have to fall back on what I know. And what I know is that when stuff like this happens, what usually follows is that there is a large gap of time where people go up and down. It's okay, it's not okay, it's okay, it's not okay, it's okay, it's not okay, right? Up and down, up and down. And then eventually we get something that is complete, that is succinct, that is detailed, and it provides the information that we need to then move forward. Until we hit that point, I have to be conservative about what I recommend, because if 5 years from now a study comes out, it's well documented, it's, the science is good, the research is good, it's unbiased, we're hitting on all cylinders, right? Everything is good. And it says, these things are totally fine, we don't have to worry. We've done the research, here's the data. If that happens, I can then go back to thousands of people who are relying on me to relay that information and say, hey, guess what? Do you remember when I told you that these things might be a problem? I was wrong. So if you would like to incorporate them into your diet, or your dog's diet, I should say, then you can absolutely do that in moderation. And here are some things that I recommend, right? I can make that kind of statement. What I don't want to have to do is the research comes out, everything's good, and it comes back and says, hey, this is a problem, we've pinpointed it, we figured it out, oh my gosh, everybody, you need to do this. I don't want to get to that point and have to go back to everyone and say, hey, yeah, you remember when I told you this was okay? As it turns out, it's not okay. So you probably want to get with your vet and see if there's a problem. Right? I mean, who wants to be in that position? But see, all of these people who want to argue with me about DCM, who want to, pressure me into, hey, this has been debunked, this is this, you don't know what you're talking about, attack me online. All of those people, none of them are in the position that I'm in, where I have others who are relying on me to do my absolute best. And you know what? My absolute best is to play the conservative role and say, hey, we don't have enough information. I can see how this could be problematic. We're gonna wait. But in the meantime, while we wait, I recommend that you do not feed any foods or treats that contain legumes or potatoes, just to play it safe. Because I would rather be safe than sorry when it comes to my dogs. I would rather be safe than sorry when it comes to the puppies that I'm bringing into this world. I would rather be safe than sorry when it comes to your dog. And that is the big, big difference between those people reading an article and making a decision, which they are entitled to do, and me. So, no, I do not recommend legumes of any kind in dog food, in treats, in home-cooked food. Doesn't matter if it's fresh or processed. I am not comfortable feeding it to my dogs or recommending it to others. The same with potatoes. It doesn't matter where they fall on a scale of, healthy factor or how many lectins they have. I'm not willing to make that gamble. I would much rather play it safe and say, hey, just don't feed it. Just don't do it. Because I would much rather come to you a few years from now and say, hey, you remember when I told you not to do that? Well, it turns out it's okay. No harm, no foul. You didn't miss anything. You didn't cause any, irreparable damage to your dog. So we're good to go. If you want to feed it, you can. I would much rather be in that position than have to backpedal and be in a panic. So, that's everything. I've gone on for 22 minutes now. I just wanted to be very real and very clear with where I stand and why I make the decisions that I make. So, I hope that you found this helpful. If you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, it's down there in the description box. Please join us. I'd love to have you. I'd love to answer your questions. I'd love to see you post pictures of your dog, right? So if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up. It definitely helps us. If you found this video not to be helpful, if you hated everything that I said, give me a thumbs down. It's okay. You can vote either way. That's fine. Just let me know. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. So, guys, just be kind to each other, okay? Do the best you can with your pets. I know we're all working on different budgets and we have, different places that we can shop. We all just have to do the best that we can because our pets are relying on us to be their advocates. They don't have anybody else. They're relying on you. So, okay. We'll see you in the next video. Bye now.